Welcome back to Talk of the Town on WHTC, Holland's Cool FM, on WHTC.com, and on the WHTC app for your smartphone. Once again, here's your host, Gary Stevens.
Welcome back to Talk of the Town for this Tuesday, July 28th. Let us catch up with things going on at Hope Network with its Director of Government Relations, Joe Habman, and Maggie Moore is the Executive Director of Hope's Centers for Autism. To both of you, good morning. For Joe, welcome back, and Maggie, welcome aboard.
Thank you.
And if you have any questions, as we'll be talking a little bit about autism in particular, or Hope Network in general, they'll be happy to answer your question at 616-395-1450. It's easy to, for those of us who've been around for a few years, well aware of the fact that, yes, Joe Habman, former state legislator from the Holland area, so his expertise certainly is used very well. He has been with Hope Network since he was term limited out of office in the position of Director of Government Relations, which, yes, you deal with dealing with lawmakers in Lansing for Hope Network, but also you get to see firsthand some of the many things that Hope Network really does.
Well, you're absolutely right, Gary. That's the fun part of my job. Is I work for Maggie. I work for several others that are the directors of their service lines, and Hope Network has multiple service lines where we serve people with either disabilities or disadvantages, give them their highest level of independence. And so I get to dabble in all these things, and I've learned about autism, but I've learned about mental health and transportation and workforce development and brain injury and a variety of things. So,
do you work, I don't want to say as a lobbyist, but
you can say that.
Okay, but I'll use the term advocate.
Yes.
For organizations such as Hope Network, helping those in need in this type of climate right now where the current State House Speaker is trying to cut waste, fraud, and abuse in state government and trying to trim the budget. And some say they're trimming the budget on the backs of nonprofits or groups like Hope Network, and making sure Hope Network is fighting for its fair share of state money.
Well, yeah, we make sure, and that is a key part of my job. And I'm not afraid of the word lobbyist because that's exactly what I am. So I'm not embarrassed of that. I do advocate for people with disabilities, and I work for a nonprofit. It's a faith-based nonprofit, so I'm proud of my work. It's been an interesting couple of years with this legislature, and I applaud as a card-carrying Republican and conservative. I applaud that when people are trying to cut out the waste of state government or federal government. But we do want to reinvest in our nonprofits, in our communities, and that's what I advocate for, is helping people that can't help themselves. So, and that's why Maggie's here today.
Let's talk a little bit about Maggie's position as the Executive Director of Hope's Centers for Autism. Talk a little bit about these centers and what it does for those who are afflicted.
Yeah, so we serve newly diagnosed individuals with autism up through about 21, and we provide applied behavior analysis therapy for those individuals. And so it is individualized one-on-one treatment that is geared specifically to their needs. And so those are services that they receive in our centers, in the community, and in their homes, depending on what their needs are.
This is going to be, to a certain extent, educational for at least me and maybe some of our listeners as well. So forgive me if I ask questions that might seem either ignorant or a little basic. But I want to sort of get a window into what we know. We hear a lot about helping those who are autistic, and it seems to be more and more people have it, partly because there are more and more people, period, partly because we are finding ways of diagnosing this better, and to a certain extent, and correct me if I'm wrong, Maggie, we're finding ways of helping those who are afflicted get the treatment they need. Am I right on that?
That's what we're here for. So I got into this field to help those that need help and support. And so not all individuals with autism need help and support, but there are a good number of them that do benefit from therapies like ABA therapy. And so finding what their needs are and tailoring them to their needs and helping them to be as successful as they want to be.
Now, I will pose this question with the caveat, Maggie is, correct me if I'm wrong, you're not a medical professional where you would be able to diagnose somebody with it, or are you?
So I am not a clinical psychologist that would be doing diagnostics for individuals with autism, but I am a board-certified behavior analyst, and so I do provide services to individuals on the spectrum.
Okay, the reason why I'm asking that is for those listeners who maybe, I don't know if my son or my daughter or my grandson or my granddaughter might have it, I'd like to be able to tell these people, and maybe you can do it better than I could possibly do it. What signs should you start looking for that maybe you need to direct your loved one to a professional to maybe you have that to make sure there is a diagnosis in that regard?
Yeah, I would say that in general, there's a lot more information out there, and there's a lot more checks and balances as individuals develop. And so, most families that do the regular pediatric appointments, they will recognize that at about 18 months, they do this thing called the MCHAT. The doctor often won't tell you if that's what they're doing it, but it goes through a number of questions that will help identify if they're at potential risk for autism or other differences that they may want to look further at. If you are experiencing your child is delayed to learn to speak, having more social challenges, might have rigidity in the behaviors that they're experiencing, that might be a reason to look deeper and ask questions, and bringing all those questions and concerns, oftentimes starting with your pediatrician and then getting referrals out to either early on or to different diagnosticians to receive testing for whether you do have autism or another difference.
No, and I hope you understand why I'm asking you this, Maggie, because in this day and age where people want to DIY, do it yourself, they'll look online, they'll Google, they'll look for answers themselves, when maybe the best way to find out is to go through a professional.
Absolutely. I think that all of us are very curious about, the ones that we love and wanting to help support them, and going through professionals that are well trained in providing that diagnosis, whether affirming it or saying, nope, actually, that's not it, but it might be this other thing. Let's test further. There's lots of testing that goes into diagnosing an individual with autism. So there's a battery of multiple different tests paired with, behavioral observations, parent interviews, a review of all records. There's the autism, the ADOS, there's the MCHAT. There's so many different tools that are utilized in diagnostic evaluations. I've been exposed to many of them and just reviewing reports, and then I've had the opportunity to go through the extensive ADOS training. For my own knowledge, I would not be confident in me doing a diagnostic. I'm not trained to do that, but my own curiosity has allowed me to learn kind of what goes into a diagnostic eval, but I'm not qualified, and it takes a lot of years of education and years of practicing with trained professionals to become an expert and be able to provide an accurate diagnosis.
Okay, I'm trying to shed some light on this particular issue because of the fact that to a certain extent we can see some people who are autistic, it's unfortunately very visible. Mm-hmm. Others, it's a little bit below the surface. It's not like, and I don't want to sound like I'm stereotyping anybody, but like somebody with Down syndrome, it's easy to spot somebody who's afflicted with that and being able to help them. Autistic, maybe not as much. Or maybe I'm wrong on that. I don't know.
I mean, individuals with autism
Norm.
Well,
Right.
I mean, everybody can look the same, and we're all different and unique in our own ways.
Yeah.
But it can be harder to spot and harder to piece apart. Is it autism, or is it something else, or is it nothing? And so that's why you would want to go through a professional that would be able to distinguish that.
Keep in mind, as Maggie Moore is chatting with us, she is the executive director of Hope Network Center for Autism. And again, I want to say she is not a person that, I mean, you are a clinical. Repeat again your qualification.
I'm a board-certified behavior analyst,
okay,
so I can work on supporting teaching skills for individuals with autism, but I'm not qualified to do a diagnosis.
Okay, I want to put that qualifier in on that. If you have a question for Maggie or for Joe Habman with the Hope Network, 616-395-1450. One more question about autism in general, then we'll talk about some of the things that are going on with the Centers for Autism, with Hope Centers for Autism. Maggie, we talk about autism with the young. What about those who might be afflicted who are not 21, who are older? What challenges do they have that perhaps we focus so much on the youth that the older ones, hopefully they're not going through, going through the cracks?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard. The amount of services, there are many more opportunities and services now in the state of Michigan for young individuals, and so that's much easier to find and easier to help remediate challenges that those individuals might be facing. There are services at Hope Network with other service lines that those service line leaders would probably be better posed to speak about. But there are other services that Hope Network does provide for individuals over 21. Just the kind of the niche that I'm in is the newly diagnosed up through 21 is where I currently work within Hope Network. But there are, there's job supports, there's residential services, there's outpatient community-based services through Hope Network and other providers out there that can provide and support to older
Gary,
individuals.
if I can interject.
Yes, go ahead.
You know that we are now Ladder Homes here in Holland. They came under our umbrella, so that's a supportive housing program that could possibly serve an adult with autism or any other kind of need where they need to live with others and they can't quite make it on their own. So we have that supportive housing. We hope to grow that here in the Holland area, continue to grow, serve more people.
Okay, that's why I wanted, with understanding, of course, Maggie, that is not in your sphere of influence right now, but I wanted to at least bring up the older persons with autism, knowing that, hey, just because, and we talk about it with other diseases as well, where the kids get all the attention, but after you turn 21, well, not much focus there. Talk about Jerry's kids, muscular dystrophy. When adults have it as well, but they don't get the attention. That's why I wanted to shine the spotlight on older people with autism.
Yes.
616-395-1450 if you have a question for Maggie Moore or Joe Habman with Hope Network. Now, recently, the ribbon has been cut on a new inclusive playground at the Holland Center for Autism over on Country Club and East 16th. Tell us a little bit about what this playground is and why it is, shall we say, unique and necessary for those who are afflicted.
So it is attached to our Holland Center for Autism program, and it allows opportunities for the children that we serve to play and also work. And so they are working very hard at learning a lot of skills. And if you can incorporate that into play, that makes it so much easier. And so there are adaptive swings. There's lots of, all of the tools that are on the playground were specifically picked for the population that we serve. And so we want to make sure that our children are having a great time engaging in play, but also incorporating all the skills that we're working on with them. So whether it be communication skills, motor skills, social skills, life skills, it's helpful to do it in a fun and exciting, inclusive environment. And we've seen a lot of growth with a lot of the children that we serve since its opening, and it's been a really wonderful addition to this program.
It sounds like the kids are having fun, and maybe they don't realize they're learning stuff. It's almost as if it's being slid in there.
It is. It's very much being, if you're having so much fun, it's not work. It's not hard, and so like you can probably, feel that too. When you are having a great time, you don't know how hard you're working and how much you're putting forth, but it has been a great tool for helping to grow communication skills, grow social skills, and grow all the skills that we're working on with the individuals that we're serving.
What's tougher, social communication skills for those who are afflicted, for developing that? Or does it really depend on the person itself?
It's completely dependent on the person. Like no two individuals are alike. They're all uniquely themselves, and so they each have their own challenges and kind of what makes them tick and what helps them to be successful. And so trying to figure out how to best support each individual and help them to reach their full potential, whatever that might be.
Let me slide for a moment to the overall Centers for Autism, not only in Howland, but the other ones that the Hope Network has had. It is one thing to work with the youngsters involved. What about programs or efforts to help parents, family members, friends work hand in glove with the centers to be able to help those who are afflicted?
It's wonderful when we can get family and community involvement in treatment and care of the children we serve. We do try to schedule parent trainings and parent meetings regularly with the parents of the children that we serve, and then they can invite anybody else they would like. And so sometimes, we're doing the services in the center. We might be doing it in the home. We might be doing it at their daycare. We might be doing it at a school or in a different community setting with other people that care about these individuals and want to help support them in all environments.
Yeah, I'm thinking along the lines where I know I'm a member of Evergreen Commons, and they have programs for caregivers, helping those who are a little bit older, and they're the ones that are carrying the heavy load, the heavy yoke, easing off of that a little bit or helping them cope with that. I would assume the Centers for Autism are helping in that regard too, for the caregivers of those young men and young women.
Yeah, they are more than welcome to join as long as whoever the guardian is of the individual has approved for them to receive support as part of the treatment package. So we have that as part of that plan.
Now, Joe Habman is here subbing for the Chief Advancement Officer at Hope Network, Jamie Counterman. And the reason why Jamie was going to be here is talking about the Hope Network Foundation, which she's oversees. The foundation was very instrumental in getting the money to build these new inclusive playgrounds, the one in Howland, maybe some of the other ones as well.
Yes, thank you. Jamie couldn't be with us today at the last minute, but this is my hometown, so that's fine. And Jamie has been with us for about 2 years now and is doing an outstanding job kind of bringing the philanthropy team, the foundation together, and expanding our philanthropy opportunities. The playground itself, we've got to give special thanks to the Michael P. Lettinga Foundation. The Lettinga family has been just a tremendous help to Hope Network and very involved before I was there, and I've been at Hope Network for 11 years. So thank you to Connie and her family, all the Lettingas, for their continued support of the foundation and specifically the autism. So as I said, Gary, as we begin to grow here even more in the Howland area, we're looking for philanthropy ideas, commitments, partners in the community, whether it be the parents, as you were just talking about, or just the community foundation or others that we're part of this community. I've been part of this community for 65 years. And here, Hope Network, the center, started off as a workforce development center. It's been an autism center. Maggie, for how long?
I believe it was in 2017, 2018 that they started.
So almost 10 years.
Yeah,
already.
shortly after you joined the organization,
Yes.
that was it.
So we're part of this community, and we're going to continue to be. Our work with Ladder Homes, of making sure that people have supportive housing. We're looking for opportunities to grow, and we're looking for philanthropy. We're looking to increase the impact of our foundation in this community. And that's what Jamie was going to talk about, but we'll have her on someday.
Okay, well, Risa, I just wanted to put the spotlight on the
thank you.
foundation itself and what it's been doing, obviously helping in the autism, helping with housing and the like. And there are other needs that Hope Network has been trying to address, not only with your expertise, but also, say, for example, helping those who are with substance abuse issues.
Yeah, we don't specifically do substance abuse.
I'm just trying to think of some other things you do.
But we're very involved in mental health and behavioral health, other than autism. So we've been part of this community. We do own a home on the north side, too, that is specifically funded through the CMH, the Community Mental Health, for people with specific needs. And that goes back to prior to me being involved with Hope Network, too. So our headquarters is based out of Grand Rapids, but we are a statewide organization, and we have been involved in Holland for years. And I think part of our being on this show is to show that we are part of this community, and we're very excited about that.
Of course, there is a community mental health millage renewal question in Ottawa County a week from today that voters will be asked to, and part of that funding would go to Hope Network and other aspects, I would think.
I'm not 100% sure how that flows through there. We're typically through the Medicaid side, and the millage is more the local side. So I don't want to get into
don't get
too far into that.
Yeah,
that is up for renewal, and we're one of the few counties in the state that have those kind of local millages for their mental health.
If you want more information about what Hope Network is doing, not only with autism, not only through the Hope Network, the Hope Foundation, Network Foundation, or some of the other services that Hope Network provides, just go online. That's the best way to do this, hopenetwork.org. That is hopenetwork.org. Maggie Moore, Joe Hapman, thank you very much for joining us today on Talk of the Town, telling us about autism in general and the Centers for Autism in particular, and, of course, your work in Lansing as well. Joe, look forward to chatting with you again soon. Maggie,
thank you, Gary.
You are always welcome to come on back. We look forward to chatting with you, too.
You've been listening to Talk of the Town on WHTC, Holland's Cool FM, on WHTC.com, and on the WHTC app for your smartphone.
We want to thank Allegan County Community Foundation Director of Strategic Initiatives, Chris Kleinjans, along with the Director of Government Relations, Joe Havman, and the Executive Director of Hope's Centers for Autism, Maggie Moore, with Hope Network, for joining us today on Talk of the Town. The segments are available or will be available on our webpage at WHTC.com in the podcast tab under Talk of the Town. Listen or download at your convenience for free. Thanks to Brian Spencer, What's New Round Helen. Thanks to all of you for listening today on our program. Tomorrow on WHTC's Talk of the Town, Alex Doherty with the Ottawa County Road Commission and Grand Valley State University economist Dr. Brian Long. Following Michael Kastner's NBC News, it'll be Lindsay Lawrence's Evergreen Commons Report. For Brian Spencer, I'm Gary Stevens. Thanks for listening to Talk of the Town. Have a good day. Let's do this all again tomorrow.